just got the new RIDGID 10-inch tile saw. Not a lot of reviews on this, so I thought I'd shoot one. Sometimes it's fun when you get to buy a new tool, but sometimes you're halfway through a job and you need a new tool. So here's what's going on. So we're tiling the shower. This is a pretty high-end shower. We got lots of bullnose on here. We had to, wrap around the window. It's turning out real nice, but yesterday we were literally on our last tile above the tub here, and our saw started cutting really crooked. Here's my old RIDGID job site tile saw. This thing owes me nothing. I think it was a $400 saw when I bought it. I've probably done around 20 full jobs with it. And then all of a sudden it started cutting. We couldn't cut a tile straight. Everything was cutting over 12 inches, about 3/16 of a dog leg. And I made sure, I got the square on here. I made sure that the track was rolling really straight. It was, couldn't figure it out. It's the arm in the back of this. I don't know if you can see in the video, but the whole thing just got really wobbly, and it's inside this arm, and there's no way to tighten this up. We tried tightening every screw we could get our hands on. There's some screws in here, one up top. Nothing that we could do to tighten this whole thing up, and it's just super wobbly. So the nice part about RIDGID is there's a lifetime service agreement. So I'm going to take this in and see if they can fix it, because it's been a great little saw. But we got to get this job done. So this morning we went and got the new one. All right, I got the Beast set up here, and this thing is a beast for sure. A few features that I really like about it right off the bat. First off, it's on a rolling stand with wheels. Makes it so easy to roll around the job site. It collapses. It's still huge even after it's collapsed. I've got a topper on my truck, and it barely fit in the truck with the topper. Another thing though that I do really like, the working height of this stand is right about 36 and a half inches. It's a lot taller than the job site saw that I had before. Nice working height. A little bit taller would be nice. I think the DeWalt saw is a little taller, but I'm 6 foot tall, and this is a pretty nice height to be working off of. Another feature that's kind of nice, so in the tray, it's got the water tray. I haven't filled it up yet, but it's got these dams in here to kind of catch the heavy debris, and the water has to flow down, and then it flows under here through some more dams, and then there's a sponge kind of filter before the pump to keep the pump clean. Now, I've always been a pump in the bucket kind of guy. I like to hang my pump down off the side. The hose is not long enough for me to do that, so I'm going to be stuck filling this up with water and just using it the way it is. But I bet that pump's going to stay pretty darn clean. The tray has 2 moving trays, so there's this inside part that rolls, and then the tray rolls on top of that, which allows you to fully extend this thing without getting slop in the tray. A lot of the smaller saws, when the tray rolls all the way to the back, the wheels roll off the back of the tray, and you get a really sloppy beginning of your cut. When it's all the way back here, put my tape just touching the saw, I've got, easily 36 inches here. But then the feature that I think I'm going to like the best about this, and pretty much the reason that I bought this over the DeWalt, let me set this camera up so you can see what I'm doing. There's the fence right there, and I can pop this fence off, and then on the side here, there is a rip fence that I can put on here. This tightens back on like that. And then I could put this rip fence, let me see, like this. And now I can lock my tray. And now I've got unlimited, I can cut a 48-inch tile, which has been in pretty high demand, these more modern finishes. And that's something you just can't do on the DeWalt saw that most of the big tile carpenters use. the contractors. So being able to cut a really long tile was the deal breaker for me on getting this saw over the DeWalt. All right, so here's on the same job site, the other tile contractors upstairs, they've got the DeWalt. Now, this saw is $560 more than the RIDGID. I like DeWalt. They make great stuff. One thing I don't like about DeWalt is it screams, steal me. So when I got my RIDGID saw left on a job site like these guys or in the back of my truck, I think people walk by it. I don't know. Tell me in the comments if you agree or not. RIDGID doesn't scream steal me as much. So some of the features about the DeWalt that it doesn't have that the RIDGID has, this tray, I guess this is kind of the same. About 36 inches to my blade. I think it might be about a ½ inch more, maybe closer to 37 inches on your maximum rip length. However, this fence does not come off, so that's it. That's as big as a tile as you can cut on this DeWalt saw. Also, just one solid tray with casters on this tray. And like I was saying, like the job site saw kind of falls off the end, and then watch this one. There it goes. This one also just falls off the end of the rail when it gets to the end. No wheels. This saw is also heavier, I believe. I'll double check that, but I believe this saw is also heavier and also huge. I mean, they're both big saws, so if you're setting this up on a job site, you're probably just gonna leave it for a while. Overall, I mean, I'm pretty happy with that RIDGID. I haven't turned it on yet, but just based on the features, I think that the RIDGID offers more than the DeWalt, especially for the price. So let's go cut some tile. Fire in the hole, first cut on the new saw. There's the pump. Pump has 2 settings, always on or on with the saw. Here we go. Ooh, it stopped really fast. I like that. All right, first cut. I got 4 5/8 down here. 4 5/8. That was over 12 inches. Perfect cut so far. We'll go cut a bunch more. All right, so here's a fairly complicated cut, just showing you how the saw operated. None of these cuts were square, thanks to the framers who framed this house. So we had to get around a corner in the wall here. So not being square, I couldn't rely on the fence. So this is pretty much just the rubber mat holding the tile along with my fingers. I said to cut out a piece here. And then this was a real small piece. Now later in the video, I'll talk about the blade wobbling a little bit, and you'll see it did. When I made that cut and it was just a little sliver, it broke that edge. I don't know if you saw that there. Not a big deal because it gets hidden under trim. And then a plunge cut here. The plunge cut mechanism was really nice, really smooth, definitely operated nicer than the 7-inch job site tile. And that all just popped right out. And then if you're careful of your fingers, you can go through and clean up the little corners, and overall pretty happy with that. Here's a 24-inch rip cut. It should be exactly 6 1/16. Let's see how it goes. And I got 6 1/16. And I've got 6 1/16. I did have to kind of fight it a little bit. I noticed it was trying to walk a little. I don't know if it was the fence or maybe because I was trying to juggle the camera at the same time. But pretty good. And that edge is really clean. This is up against the bathtub, so I'll polish it a little bit, but man, pretty clean cut. There he is up against my bathtub, and I'm really happy with that. You know, maybe it's like a 64th from end to end, but it gets a caulk joint. Nice clean cut. Good deal. This just might be my favorite part about this saw. They put the drain port underneath it, so you could just set a bucket and drain it. Instead of on the side where it's spewing out the side and you gotta hold the bucket. How nice is that? It's the simple things in life. Alright, so we just finished up our tile job, got the Beast home, and I'm going to get this thing cleaned up and then show you what I liked and what I didn't like, some of the pros and cons. But first, I just wanted to show you how big this thing is in the back of my truck. So obviously I have a topper, and this thing pretty much takes up majority of the bed of my truck. I had some other stuff shoved in here too. This is a big saw. One of the benefits maybe of the DeWalt is that even though it's not on a rolling stand, you can break it apart into pieces a little bit easier, and it might not take up so much space for storage as well. I'll probably store this with the stand on it, and it's just going to take up a lot of space in my garage. Alright, so I figured it wouldn't be much of a product review if I only told you that it could cut a 48-inch tile. So I went to my tile shop, and I picked up this. Had a damaged corner, so they gave it to me for $5. This is a 24 by 48-inch tile, and we're going to rip it and see how it goes. So I want to rip it at exactly 12 inches. So what we're going to do here is we're going to drop our fence with this sweet feature that RIDGID came up with. Drop that fence out of the way. And then I'm going to use their rip fence, and I'm going to set him. Okay, so I guess I can't go 12 inches because I run off my rail. So let's just cut him right at 8 inches. Right there. Alright, I got my rip fence set at exactly 8 inches. I'm going to make sure that he's 8 inches all the way through. Got 8 inches there. Ooh. 8 1/16 out here. So my rip fence isn't square, so maybe that's part of this, is that the rip fence doesn't necessarily set itself square, so you got to check it front and back. You're going to have to pull and push and get them exactly square with your blade. Just right at 8 inches there. Right at 8 inches there. So that's set. Now I'm going to lock my tray. Alright, so I got a rip fence. My tray is locked. I'm going to slide this tile across. I'm doing it all by myself. Nobody will hold the other end. We're going to see how it goes. let's see how I did. So I just ripped that full tile. I got 8 inches on this end, and I got 8 inches at that end. So look, buddy, we just ripped a 48-inch tile, exactly 8 inches with the Beast tile saw. That's a pretty neat feature if you ask me. Can't do that on any of the other tile saws that I've found. Now this was an $800 tile saw, roughly $850 after tax and all that stuff. If you know of any other saws at this brand or at this price that can do something like that, let me know in the comments. I think that is a huge feature that RIDGID offers. I know you can't do it with the DeWalt, but for that price to be able to now tell clients that I could put a 48-inch tile or even bigger, pretty happy with that. All right, got the Beast all packed up, cleaned up. We just cut that giant 48-inch tile. Thought I'd just leave you with some pros and cons. So honestly, really happy with the saw. More pros than cons. Let's just kind of go through what I liked, what I didn't like. First off, the wheels. Super awesome. I like the wheels. It did make it easy to roll around. However, I did find that it came with some disadvantage having the wheels on there because this thing is still folded up. Huge. Maybe an advantage of the DeWalt saw not having the wheels is that it just packs up in separate pieces and might take up less space when you store it. You know, I'm going to store this thing in my garage, and it's still, you know, flipped up. It still takes up a huge footprint of space. So the wheels do make it easy to move around, but storage is kind of a concern with this. Now another thing that's nice is that when it's all folded up, you've got the big water catch tray on the back. It fits the other tray on the inside, which is nice. Everything kind of fits inside easily when you store it up. Now it holds it with these little rubber straps that you can see on here. Kind of flimsy. Don't expect those to last forever. It's nice for now, but when those straps break, then I'm going to have parts and pieces kind of falling everywhere. Let's see what else. Something I really liked about it. Let me flip this down. And I mentioned this earlier in the video, but it's the little things that matter. Having this drain port on the facing down towards the ground is huge. Most saws, this water drain sticks out the side, and you got to fumble a bucket underneath it and try to hold it as it's filling up. This was really nice. Just set a bucket underneath it at the end of the day, open it up and let it drain down. That was a great feature. Something I didn't like so much, and this might just be, you know, 10-inch saws in general. What I liked better about my little job site 7-inch saw is that that blade was so rigid, it didn't flex. This big 10-inch blade, when it started getting dull, and this blade's dull now, I've done 2 bathrooms with it, it really, when you start jamming a tile against it, wants to bend back and forth a lot. Something else, again, that was nice, but maybe came with some disadvantages, was being able to adjust the blade to get that nice and straight, lined up a square on here. And it has all these bolts in here where you adjust the whole motor mounting mechanism to make sure it's sliding square. Definitely was kind of tough to figure out at first. I did make a video on it. It's linked in the description if you're trying to figure out how to adjust your blade. One of the cons about that is it said in the assembly instructions that it would be set from factory to be pretty darn close, and it wasn't. So earlier in the video you saw I was fighting a tile, and that's because that wasn't set perfectly from the manufacturer. So I did have to make some adjustments to that. But now I know how to do it, and I can readjust it in the future, just hoping that it holds its squareness through use and I don't have to constantly readjust it. All right, again, pros and cons that came with disadvantages. Something I really liked was having 2 trays. So there's the inside tray moving, and then there's the top tray moving, which allows you to fully extend this guy without getting any slop in that tray. No wiggle, because they both slide with two mechanisms. Some cons of this, and it wasn't really cons of this whole system, just their locking system. Their tray locking system, I found, so there's a spring-loaded turn here. You pull this out and turn them, and then it locks into place. It's kind of going the wrong direction because that spring is always trying to push this back to the locked position. And what I found is the vibration of the saw, a couple times a day you'd be cutting, you'd be pushing a tile through, and then it would just lock on you halfway through your cut, and then you'd have to come over here and do that to loosen it up, because it would just lock it up in the middle of your cut. That pretty much wraps it up. I am happy with my RIDGID Beast purchase. If you have one of these and you like it, let me know in the comments. If you decided to get something else and you got good reasons as to why, let me know. If there's anything you think I missed in there or you want to see in another video, let me know as well. Make sure to hit the like, hit the subscribe, and catch more content as it comes out.